Hello, everyone, once again. This is Rob, and welcome back to Media Awareness and Dune Prophecy, Episode 6, the season finale review. And this will contain heavy spoilers. Before I continue, however, a reminder the fundraiser continues. For those of you unaware, I am a disabled individual and I use a motorized wheelchair slash scooter all day, every day for my independence, and I need your help. My insurance will not cover anything with regard to my scooter as they view it as a quote luxury item end quote. Despite the fact that I am unable to walk whatsoever, in addition to being unable to use any other type of power chair or a standard wheelchair for that matter, as I only have limited dexterity in one hand. In addition to that, I do not have a backup scooter or wheelchair at the current time. So if my scooter does malfunction, as it recently did, I will yet again be a fish out of water, a scenario I want to avoid at all costs. With that stated, below the title of this video, in the description, as well as in a separate section below the information pertaining to this video, you can find a spot fund link. It is a fundraiser. It is easy to contribute. It takes a few seconds. You can even contribute anonymously, and even $5 or $10 can really help out and goes a long way. Any and all help is welcome, actually. So please do what you can. I am endeavoring at the current time to both refurbish my existing scooter entirely as well as purchase a new scooter to use consistently, having the refurbished model as a backup. In light of what recently occurred, I feel this is the best course of action. My battery charging mechanism on my scooter had failed entirely, and for roughly 2 weeks I had to rely on family and friends to push me around my own home, severely limiting my independence. And although I am not 100% independent, I do pride myself on the things I can do, and I want to maintain my quality of life as such. So, with all of that stated, please do what you can, and I really appreciate you all. I do want to extend a gracious thanks to those who have contributed thus far, in addition to those who plan on contributing, as your contributions have and will make a world of difference in my life. Thank you all. I love you all. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing to Media Awareness and become part of the Media Awareness family. I'd love to have you. Also, like and share and let me know your thoughts on this episode if you have watched it, or your thoughts on Dune in general, your favorite adaptation in terms of a visual medium, or your favorite book for that matter. I'd love to know. So, we have reached episode 6 of HBO's original series, Dune Prophecy. And it was a longer than average episode, which I was really grateful for. It was actually quite unexpected. I'm not complaining though. uh, I'm going to structure this not necessarily in the order that things occurred in the episode itself, but to make things easier, um, focusing on certain characters and their story arcs initially and going from there. Um, so, with that stated, pertinent factors of this episode that I feel stand out and that are relevant. We've had the mystery throughout this season of these um, eyes in these visions and this mechanical sounding voice. Um, and I will get to that in due time. But prior to all of that being revealed, we have Tula Harkonnen on Wall 9, and she has a flashback to shortly after she gave birth to Desmond Hart. And just prior to this occurring, uh, her and Valia had a conversation regarding her pregnancy, and Valia swore that she would help her to raise the child. Tula, though, knows that Valia could be problematic in terms of her motivations and power in general, and she's leery about raising her son within the confines of the sisterhood. So she makes Valia believe that her child died, and she has Desmond, her actual child, sent off. And with that being done and said, she has no idea what his outcome would be. She was merely hoping for a better life for him outside of the sister's control. So, with that stated, Tula knows that in the present of that timeline, she, um, in terms of her uh, present self, her older self, she needs to go to Zelus and confront him herself. Prior to doing so, though, she meets with the Souk Doctor, who's also a sister, and they attempt to isolate the virus that um, it's determined that Desmond is uh, basically excreting to those he wants to infect and destroy. And in attempting to isolate and transmute the virus, this is early on in the Sisterhood's training, so they're not quite as adept at transmuting different uh, harmful substances to those that are not. So the suit doctor does fail, but in the midst of this, they realize that the virus replicates extremely fast, and it is probably more than likely a machine virus. So Tula embarks for Seleucus Canvas. Now, around this time, uh, Jen is watching over Lila, who is contained in the catacombs, and Lila comes back to consciousness, and she very nicely asks if she could be um, released, and Jen says that for her safety, it's better that she not, but she could loosen the restraints, and as she's doing so, Lila lashes out, and Jen is rendered unconscious and um, put into the confines where Lila was. Lila, however, at this time, isn't exactly Lila. Lila is what will in the future be known as an abomination. Someone who is possessed by the ancestors of their past. In this case, Dorothea. Um, a If you recall, Dorothea was um, related to Raquel early on in the series, and Dorothea was assassinated by Valia so that Valia could preserve the breeding program, which was being run by computers. So Dorothea, having taken over Layla, um, goes out and, to make a long story short, she destroys the computer on Wall 9. Um, but before doing so, she reveals to the other sisters where her followers ended up, and she does so in draining this basin that reveals all of the dead bodies that have been dumped there by Valia and her followers, and those following Raquela's actual teachings. So Dorothea has basically taken charge of the sisterhood on Log 9, and Dorothea is also quite mad and in possession of Lila's body as an abomination, but that is not the known terminology as of yet, and or stature as of yet. So, with that stated, meanwhile on Seleucus Secundus, we have a lot going on. So I'm going to try and summarize this as easy as I can. Um, Princess Inez is in restraints, having um, basically uh, gone against the Empress in attempting to free her lover, Kier Atreides, the swordmaster who was wrongly detained as well. Although he did have motivations and he did have the intention of overthrowing the emperor, um, it wasn't for the wrong reasons. Along with this, we have um, the Empress um, basically aligning more in this episode with Desmond Hart and uh, rising up against her husband, the Emperor, and the Emperor's, um, let's say, concubine, for lack of better words, the mother of his son Constantine, a sister, um, was charged with assassinating him, uh, the emperor. But prior to this, Valia makes herself known once again in the palace. She enters, and the emperor had wanted to speak to her. Um, he wanted to say that he was sorry for what he did and not taking the sisterhood's advice and guidance. And he does so. He says it to her while she's sitting on his throne, very, uh, um, I guess you could say, uh, command, commandingly, but also very inappropriately as well as disrespectfully, but it's a show of who is really in charge. And she reveals to the Emperor that every decision he has made throughout his entire life, including his birth, was all orchestrated by the Sisterhood, and none of his choices were actually his. So, with all of that revealed to him, Dahlia gets what she wants. She gets to go and be imprisoned with Princess Inez and Kira Travis. However, when she gets to the cell, she uses the voice on the guards and promptly disposes of them. Releases the princess and her acolyte, who has been very faithful to her, the Tleilaxu face dancer, um, takes on the appearance of Princess Inez uh, to act as the princess in appearance only. Now, this is going to, I feel, come more into play in season two, but this is sort of a a plant of sorts in the royal house itself, uh, despite it fracturing all around everyone that is there. Um, so the emperor actually and um, the emperor's um, prior lover and mother of Constantine um, end up in a confrontation verbally, but he ends up killing himself as opposed to um, allowing her to do so, even though I don't think she would, and also knowing that he has been controlled his whole life. It's the one thing that he can do that he has control over, in my opinion. And as the sister is beside him, weeping and trying to hold him in loving arms, the Empress comes up behind her, pricks her, and she dies. And it's a very poignant moment seeing them both, these two obvious star-crossed lovers, if you will, uh, in each other's arms um, in in death. It was really quite touching, actually. Uh, Desmond has the guards looking everywhere for Valia and Kier, um, and they're on their way to the spaceport to get off planet, and Valia basically has Kier and Inez go ahead and uh, make their way to the escape, and she basically says she'll hold off the guards. And for Valia, that's easy because even though Desmond is right there with them, all she has to do is use the voice on them, and she does, and they dispose of themselves rather effectively, I might add. She's then confronted by Desmond, and because she can't use the voice against him, and because his power is almost completely useless against her, they both wind up passing out. At which point Tula has arrived, and Tula guides Valia back to the realm of life from a vision that she has that is a complete vision of what she needed to see and what she needed to experience to have the growth that her character really needed to pass, let the fear and let the pain of her past pass through her, as the litany would say, that the sisters repeat later on in the Dune series to pass over and through. So we have that occur, and um, Tula reveals to Valia as Valia is about to kill Desmond, realizing that having seen what happened to him entirely in her vision, that he was, Desmond was following his death of sorts, was harvested in a way and modified by machines. Now, this could mean a number of things. This could mean that he is possibly a Goa and is um, working under the auspices of the Tailaxu in combination with the Ixians, perhaps, as the Ixians are experts in technology, or this could also mean that um, he was somehow found by remnants of the machines that had fled following the Machine Crusades, which is entirely possible. Because the virus he carries within him is a machine virus, and it's in his eye, to be exact. Um, so Valia is going to pluck it out, and Tula stops her, reveals that Desmond is her son. She tells Tula the truth, and Tula basically puts the choice in Valia's hands, and or Valia rather puts the choice in Tula's hands. My apologies. And um, Valia departs to meet up with Princess Inez and Cure Atreides and get off world. Desmond comes back to consciousness, and after a few moments of resisting Tula's embracing of him, he does allow her to embrace him. And I think he realizes at that point that yes, indeed, she is his biological mother. Um, However much biology of him still exists. Because if he is a Gola, it is only a fraction. If he is Desmond entirely, which is doubtful, it could be more, but that's debatable. But he does have Tula escorted away to be detained and presumably questioned um, by him at a later time. However, it was a very touching moment when they were holding each other. It was really quite moving, in my opinion. So Valia and Princess Inez and Kira Atreides, after a really action-packed escape with Kira and Inez, um, they all meet up. They get off world, and we see an amazing shot of a guild Highlander coming out of a fold space fold. Um, uh, Really nicely done, and they are above Arrakis, and they take a shuttle down to Arrakis. They land, and uh, Valia basically says to Kier and Princess Inez that this is where they will find the answers they seek. And she is probably right, considering all the visions pointing towards a worm and the technology that was used to modify Desmond being somewhere within that vision itself, within that spatial region, so to speak. So there you have a rather abridged version of this epic episode, this grand finale of season one of Dune Prophecy. Now, Dune Prophecy has been greenlit for a second season, so we will get to see this continue, and we will get to see resolution to many of the questions that have yet to be answered, and a lot more undoubtedly as well. So there's a lot of food for thought in the meantime, in terms of what we can ponder, what we can um, really dig into in rewatching this series thus far. It is only 6 episodes, so it is a digestible series to really burn through in one shot. The last episode, as I stated, is longer, but it is well worth the watch. Um, Between the really outstanding visuals on Solution Secundus, as well as Wall 9, there is amazing visual um, aesthetics to this episode, and incredible direction, incredible writing, and it leaves us with questions, and it it really does what a good book would do, and that is to answer questions but leave us wanting more. And Frank Herbert's books did that. Brian and Kevin's books, in my opinion, did that. And I feel like the series did all of that justice. So, what are your thoughts on Dune Prophecy, this grand finale, and the series as a whole? I'd love to know. I really am excited, and this was one of the best Christmas gifts, I think, unexpected Christmas gifts um, that I received watching this episode was really just refreshing and really just enlightening and exciting, and I can't wait to watch it again. There's just so much that occurs. And as I stated at the beginning, I did go out of the sequence. I did this for simplicity's sake, and so that way I wouldn't lose my mind trying to recall every little tidbit. Um, I'm still learning names of characters. I do not use a cheat sheet. I go from memory, and these are all really new characters for the most part for us in Dune. So it's not quite as easy as reviewing, uh, you know, the Denis Villeneuve um, Dune films, where I know the names back and front and upside down and sideways, or any of the other Dune adaptations. This is all fresh, this is all new, and these characters are all really, for the most part, as I said, new characters. So, new characters, new situations, but a very, very compelling story to say the least. So, do yourself a favor if you've not watch it, and let me know your thoughts. This is Rob with Media Awareness, and once again, a reminder the fundraiser continues. I am far from reaching the goal, so please do what you can. Any and all help is welcome. And I hope you all have a wonderful holiday, as well as a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. Take care, and may the spice flow.